Welcome to the Basketball and Brew podcast produced by June McLaren, and I am your host, Dan Miller. Thank you for joining us for this week's podcast, and please help us out by subscribing to our podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you are watching, and please give us a follow on Twitter. Today's podcast is brought to you by our sponsors, both right here in beautiful San Marcos, Texas. Pie Society is an excellent stop in San Marcos for great New York-style pizzas made with the freshest ingredients, local beers on tap, and overall fun and cool vibe. And come into Zelik's Ice House for their happy hour drink specials, spacious outside patio, and a great time with friends right here in San Marcos. Tonight, episode 21 of Basketball and Brew podcast, we are very excited to welcome Coach Matt Margenthaler, the head men's basketball coach at Minnesota State University. And Coach just guided the Mavericks to a 35-2 season and the 2024 NCAA Division II National Championship. Coach, thank you for coming on our podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan. And it sounds like I never get old when I hear about national championship team, man.
Man, Coach, and I'm so excited to dive into this team and everything about Maverick basketball because not only this year was very special, but the 22 years you've run that program, it's been an outstanding program, Coach.
Thank you. It's been a great run, and you know there's some unique things that we have here at Minnesota State. One, that my assistant coach has been here the entire time with me, Mike Schott, my associate head coach, and I recruited him when I was at South Dakota State. He came over with me when after I got the job here, and he stayed with me. And so we've had a lot of consistent things going on here. Our staff, both him and Carson Ehrenholz, are guys that I recruited and played for me. They know me. I think it's worked out really, really well. And you have to have that consistency within a staff to have the success we've had here at Minnesota State.
Absolutely. It's a great staff, and it's a great region. I think the best in the country in Division II. And obviously with Northwest Missouri State and your battles with Winona State throughout those years, to finally get over the top and win the national championship this year. Coach, what made this team so special?
I think that the one thing that is a very selfless basketball team, and they're a team that came together. We made a lot of changes after last year's season, and we needed to. Some young men didn't come back. We knew we needed to find some guys to fit exactly what we were looking for. We were fortunate enough to find those guys in the portal with a great core of guys coming back. And these young men got together last summer, and they committed themselves to what they wanted to do. And they talked about winning a championship. Now, there's one thing about talking about it, and there's another thing about doing it. Mm-hmm. And these guys got together, and it was no nonsense all summer long. They held each other accountable. They kept on talking about what they wanted and how hard they'd work to get it. And they kept on doing it. As a coach, you hear teams come together and talk about everyone talks about they want to win a championship and do that. But a lot of times the young men don't want to put forth the effort and the time that it takes to do it. And really, they were more about their teammates than they were themselves. They were. I go back to where I said selfless more this year I've ever said in my life, and that's what you have to win a championship.
Absolutely, Coach. And I could see that selfless on the film when I'm watching it. And one thing, too, I noticed, too, was I think you played 37 games, 35-2. Your starting lineup never changed except for 2 games. I think you maybe had a player who was hurt. How important was that consistency of just having that same group and everyone in their roles all year long?
That's another thing. You have to have that. We were very fortunate. We stayed away from injury this year. Mm-hmm. We had one young man, Dylan Peters, who's our starting 5. He missed the Minot Mary trip because he was sick. And then we had another one. We had an injury. So very fortunate we stayed healthy. But, also guys understand their roles too. I think that was a major thing. Brady Williams was a young man who's been in our program for 4 years and will graduate. Matter of fact, graduate tomorrow. He came to me early in the year. He was a 2-year starter, hurt last year, had a back surgery. And he just said, Coach, I don't care where you put me. I just want to play. I want to be a part of it. And this is a guy that started. I mean, he could have been selfless, very selfish himself and wanted to say, but he's just like, I just want to win. It's my last year. Put me anywhere you want. And I think that's something our guys understood. Harrison Broadus, Malcolm Jones. We played 8 guys, and those 2 young men I talked about with Harrison and Malcolm, they all had a role, and they knew what their role was, and they flourished in that role. And they didn't have their heads down because they weren't starting. They knew they were going to play for a great team, and they did. And one thing, Dan, that I do differently here in our program that many guys, that takes a lot of time, and coaches, but I meet with our guys individually once a week. for 15, 20 minutes, whatever it takes. And so that takes a lot of my week. But but the communication for me is imperative. You have to be for myself, I'm all about communication. I want our guys to understand what their roles are, and not and again, those roles will change from the first day of practice till the end, because that just happens because of things that happen throughout the season. So if I'm talking about it and communicating with them, and they don't always love what I have to say, what their role is, but if they accept it and we can talk about it, and then they can flourish in that role. And I'm talking about guys, our 15th guy, all the way through our, like a Malik Willingham, who's our All-American this year. I give them all the same love. And I don't want any gray area in my program. There's black and white. And that's the way life is. I was brought up a coach's son. And if I said a word about a coach, if I said anything about a practice, my dad would have my butt. And so I want these guys to understand that this is real life. And when you leave here, that's the way it's going to be in a job. And, and I'll tell them exactly what they need to do to get to where they want to be, and hope they can do that and help them to get to that spot. But I want our guys to understand where they're at. I think this year the guys really embraced that and took that to heart.
Absolutely. Coach, I love that. Role identification and then role acceptance is so important in a championship culture. Coach, just staying with those meetings, if you don't mind me, I want to hear a little bit more about those. Do you usually have those in the office? They come up and see you, or how does that? Can you walk me through what that might look like in a week?
Yeah, so like a Malik Willingham, say at 10 o'clock on Monday mornings, that's his time. We'll start in the office the first couple of weeks and just talk, and that's where we really start talking about roles, and if it's a young man like a freshman, I just want to get to know him. I want to get to know him, how to motivate him, how to discipline him, what's going on in his life with his family, and all those types of things. I mean, I've had guys that we've had sisters that have committed suicide. We've had divorces. We've had grandfathers. Guys break up with girls break up with guys. Dealing with those types of things, that's my role. That's what I'm here for, is to help them. And then a lot of times, just like yesterday, I had Kyrie Willingham was one of my meetings yesterday. We went to Panera Bread. We sat down at a restaurant, got out of the office, different view, different vibe. And that's when I found out that Kyrie's is a rock star in town here, because everybody knows him now, and there's a lot of fun. But I think these meetings, the guys get to know me. They know my family. We have them out. My wife, Dawn, is a Minnesota State grad. So what we do too is we have not only do we have the whole entire team out to our house, but we'll break it up as just the freshmen come out for dinner.
Right.
And we talk, and then the sophomores and the juniors and the seniors. And so it's a smaller setting where we make a nice meal. We show them how to my wife is big into making sure you show these young men how to set a table, how to do that. And where the butter knife is, she's me. I don't even know half the time. She's telling me where it goes. But I think these are real life lessons for these guys. And no matter win, lose, or draw, we want to make their lives better when they leave here. And we think that we're doing that right now.
I love that, Coach. And then what you get is a group that plays for each other, plays for their coach, and a true unity. And you could see that when you watch your team. Going back to your on-the-court championship run, one game that really I watched a lot of games this week, but one game I just have to ask about is that game with Northwest Minnesota or Missouri State, because you guys average 85 points.
Yeah.
And I know that coach and their defense is, next level. And you guys found yourself in that dogfight. And what a game. How mentally tough do you have to be to win that game? And can you just take me through that game a little bit?
Well, we knew that to get to the national championship, the Elite Eight, you got to go through Northwest, and they've beaten us in regional championships before, and it's been our nemesis, the last few years. Ben McCollum, who just took the Drake job, he's done. I think they won 4 national championships down there in Northwest. Done an unbelievable job, and he's got hard-nosed dudes that play the game right. They slow you down. He only plays like 6, 7 guys at the most. We knew we were going to have to play a half-court game sometime within that region, and knew it was going to be Northwest if we matched up with them. I thought our guys, our league prepares us for games like this, and playing at home that obviously was an advantage too. We sold the Taylor Center out; it was rocking and rolling. I've not coached in an environment like that in my career. That was a lot of fun, and I think our guys fed off of that. And we're a team that is very resilient. We've been down a lot this year. We were a second half team. We didn't shoot the ball well. in that Northwest Missouri game, but we guarded. And that was the one thing I thought in the last month of the season, Dan, is that our guys, we knew we could score,
Right.
but to really do something special, you had to guard, man, and you had to rebound the basketball. Because I let our guys offensively really have a lot of freedom. Sometimes my dad, he's like, he can't believe, he's an old school coach. He can't believe some of the shots I allow our guys to take. But I'm more like, hey, if we'll guard and we'll rebound and then we'll get more possessions, then we're going to beat you. And because our offensive philosophy is you either get to the rim, you take a three, or you get fouled. That is pretty simple, but that's
Right.
our philosophy. And we couldn't do that against Northwest because they locked us up. And I thought we got some nice looks late in the first half, which kind of kept us in the game. Second half, we hit a couple of shots, but it was a absolute rock fight the entire time. I thought probably the most physical game we've ever played in, and I thought it was great because the officials for the entire 40 minutes let it go that way. They never changed, and you see a lot of times those officials will change the game at halftime. They didn't do that. They let us beat the hell out of each other, and that was okay because we couldn't play that way. But I thought that Malik Willingham at the end of the game when he had the ball in his hands, if I told Malik this many times, if I was a betting man, I lost my house because he was going to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
He made the right play. I mean, again, that just shows how selfless our team is. He wanted to win that basketball game. He made the right play, huge basketball IQ. And Elijah, who was 0 for 7 at the time, knocked on the shot, and the rest is history for us. And you got to be a little lucky along the way too. And but we made the plays and executed what we needed to do. We needed to do down the stretch.
Unbelievable game, and your defense that second half, because they're a great defensive team, obviously maybe the best in the nation every year, but I thought you guys guarded just like you said and were super physical. And then that shot, I just got to say, because he was 0 for 7, but just the way he adjusted, it was amazing.
He was guarded. It wasn't like he was wide open. And Elijah's one of those guys that he's a great shooter, and he gets down on himself when he's not making shots. I'm always telling him, next play, just don't worry about it. Just keep on shooting the ball. But he caught it high and kept it high, and that was, I thought, a key to that shot. And boy, I tell you what, when he made that, it was just that place was electric. And I'm just glad he didn't get hurt because he was running around like a chicken with his head cut off and having some fun.
Absolutely. Amazing, Coach. And then I was going to ask to fast forward into the championship game against Nova. You were into some close games with SMSU. I know in the tournament, obviously the Northwest Mo game. Did those prepare you for the ending of that game? Because now you have to win another close game and the national championship is on the line, and you guys were poised and obviously hit the big shot again.
Yeah, I think I got to go back. Like the NSIC, I think is one of the better leagues in the nation. Our region, no question, is the best region in the nation. If you get out of our region, you have a chance to win a national championship.
Yep.
And I kept on saying that throughout our run. But those games did prepare us for that. Yes, and in our league, we get to go to the Pentagon in Sioux Falls and play. So we're playing in nice facilities, in front of a lot of people. And I think we've got some great coaches in our league too. I mean, it's you go against a Brad Bigler, Tom Builder, Eisner over in Winona right now, and Chris Johnson of Sioux Falls. I mean, I can go down the line. I mean, I think this league just it continues to get better and better players and better coaching every single year. And it does prepare us. But, we do a lot of in-the-game situations in practice. So our guys know the situations and know if we're going to call a timeout or not, if we're going to foul or not. Those are big things, I think, that we portrayed to our guys even before we got to that point.
Right. And very prepared. You do a great job there, Coach. And those are some great coaches you named. Another coach you had to get through, and I know you know him well, and he's a former Basketball and Brew podcast guest, was Tom Brown down here in Texas at West Texas A&M, and they have a tremendous program. So you had to really go through a gauntlet to win that national championship this year.
Yeah, a lot of respect for Tom and what he's done there at West Texas. And, he was a Winona guy, and we had battles all the time with those guys. And it was, that game and he had Rylan Holt playing for him, and Rylan played for me. And so he transferred down there over time. So that game was personal, and those games are fun, and that's what it's all about. You get that big stage, and you hope your kids can handle it. And our guys did just one heck of a job.
Yeah. Great run. Congratulations. Coach, diving into some basketball specific things now in your program. Offensively, everything I looked at in synergy was rated excellent. I mean, you guys were just phenomenal. And I just want to go and first kind of just a general question. What do you what goes into good offense? And what is kind of your DNA of having such a good offense?
You have to have good players. You have
Sure.
to have good players. We recruited guys that could shoot the basketball. We haven't been as an efficient offensively as we were this past year in the last couple of years.
Hmm.
We knew we had like a Malik coming back, a Kai coming back, Harrison, and guys that could shoot the ball. But we needed to put guys with them that could. We could always have 4 or 5 guys on the floor that can shoot the ball. I think those. I go back to those meetings too, Dan. I mean, I want to coach confidence. I want our guys to understand they can shoot the basketball. I go back and listen to the CBS podcast, and it's just funny. They're like, we shot 10 threes in the first 6 minutes of the semifinal game against West Texas, and they couldn't believe it. But they were good shots, and we're going to continue shooting those shots because we got guys that can make them. And
Yep.
our philosophy is to allow our guys to play free. I said, we want to go back those 3 easy things: get to the rim, shoot a 3, or get fouled. And the 2-point shot for me is obsolete. And obviously, we'll get there. But the floaters and the 15-foot pull-up jumpers, if you're pulling up to the free throw line, you might as well get one more dribble and get to the rim.
Right.
Just get to the rim and make an official make a call. Because right now in college basketball, they're not calling charges hardly at all. It's a block. So make those suckers make a call and get yourself to the free throw line. But a confidence thing, I think, Dan, is huge. I want all my coaches to be coaches for one, but to be on the floor and not berate young men when they take a bad shot. We'll pull them to the side and talk to them. But we really, I think, coach as much confidence in our guys as possible during the practice time, and you have to have that because there's gonna be lulls in offense. There's gonna be times when the ball starts sticking a little bit, and you gotta hey, let's get that ball rocking a little bit. And what we do, we talk a lot of spacing. We talk a lot of matchups, those types of things. And then when in those meetings, we can talk about what's a good shot for you, Kyrie. What's a good shot for you? And we watch film and let's watch these 10 shots you took in this game. Which ones do you think were really in your sweet spot, and which ones did you kind of force? And let's get away from those ones you force, and let's really get you those sweet spot shots. And now we got something. So if you got 5 guys on the floor that are really feeling comfortable where they're shooting the ball at and where they're at, now I think offensively you're going to be very, very gifted and tough to guard.
Right, absolutely. Take me back through October when you're doing your install then, and you start those early practices when you have the full team together. Do you do some 5-on-0 or 3-on-0, or do you get right to the 5-on-5? How do they get such a good flow and chemistry together?
We do a lot of breakdown, even like with our early motion shots. Every shot we do is in conjunction with some action we'll do offensively. Our offense every year kind of evolves, to be quite honest with you. It's not something that we're not like, this is exactly what we do every single year because our team changes every year. And now with the portal and everything else, you're going to have different guys and with different skill sets, and so you have to kind of evolve with that. We were up until about it was right after Christmas. We were playing at Sioux Falls. We're down 7 at halftime, and we ran a lot of sets. And Sioux Falls was just beating the heck out of us and taking us out of everything. Again, going back to the good coaches in our league. And so my assistant coach, associate coach Mike Schott, he's our offensive guy, and we were talking at halftime, and we just kind of both agreed, like, you know what, we got to get away from this all the sets. We just got to let our guys hoop and run motion and get them into just some early action. And we did that. We came back, went by 12 or something like that. And then we got back to Mankato. And really from here on out, it's all we did. We got away from running a lot of sets. We just ran some actions. And every weekend we'd have 4 or 5 different actions that we would put, maybe a side horns. We'd run, some floppies and different things like that guys could just play out of and give them 3 or 4, options out of that. And then our guys really made the right decisions. And we were fortunate to have guys that knew how to play without the basketball, which is a tough thing. I thought that we had some guys that early on struggled without the ball. Like Elijah Hayskamp, one of the better players on our basketball team, a transfer guy, used to having his hands on the ball, being sets run for him all the time. He probably struggled more than anybody just trying to find his way in that first semester. And in the second semester, he found out, okay, this is where I can get my shots from. It was a lot more comfortable. But I think everything we do practice-wise, we want to get that same actions we're going to run in a game. So if we're not just going to shoot to shoot. We're going to run actions and that's going to be what, it could be a floppy deal. Like I said, it could be a side ball screen or just a high ball screen. We'll run some type of horns, whatever it is coming off of that. But we want it to be something that is going to be applicable to what we're doing with our offense.
Right. And I noticed that kind of free flow, and sometimes I was watching your baseline out of bounds, and you're out of that 1-4 low, and when you throw that ball in, those guys would do anything from split cuts to little flex actions, but they were so good at reading the defense, and now that's why I wanted to just kind of ask how you get them to do that. I know obviously a comfortability, but do you do some like one dribble cutthroat or anything, because they just look so being able to read each other so good.
We don't do the one dribble. We do 3 dribbles is what we'll do. And so, because again, it allows guys to get their basket, a little more freedom. One, I think, is just a little bit limited. We do a lot of that. We do a lot of 2-on-2. I think 2-on-2 it just teaches you how to play.
Yeah.
And we'll do the 2-on-2, 3-on-3, and then go to 5-on-5. But we don't do a ton of just 5-on-5. We'll do like a stop and score, things like that.
Sure.
Maybe 5 trips is the most we'll ever do, because you never really do any more than that in a game anyway without some stoppage. But again, it's a lot of everything we do is live. Everything we do is competitive. I mean, we have a big grease board out there. Our manager's there, and he's keeping score. And that's I'll tell you the one thing different in practice. I've talked to a lot of guys, and I got a transfer coming in here. Can't believe we play music all the have I'm getting old. I probably can't hear half the stuff that's being said music, which is fine.
Right.
But we have the music going. We try to have as much fun too as we possibly can have. But I mean, when we're on that line, we're competing, and there's not a lot of guys. There's not a lot of whistles being blown on fouls. We it's very physical. It's very competitive, and that's the way we want to have our practice set up, because again, I think it's just more fun for the guys. That's what they want to do, and we're not gonna have a lot of time where you're just standing around doing nothing.
Yeah, I love that, coach. The energy you guys have. What about with pick and roll, pick and pop? How are you teaching that? And also, do you do some guard pick to pick, pick and roll, or do you just have your bigs run in there?
No, we'll do it. We'll do it like into the game. Nova Southeast. That's what we do with Malik. We had him in the bunker, and we brought him up to set a screen for Egan's, but we brushed him. And so we'll do a lot of the NBA stuff. A lot of times teams will they switch on contact. So we'll do the tapping. We'll tap the hips and then try to get that switch on that one. So we do a lot of that. Again, that goes back to a lot of our shots that we'll do early on in practice. All those things on our ball screen is done through those actions in practice: 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and then we'll go to 5-on-5. And again, that's all about spacing too, right? I mean, you got to have the proper spacing. But those are all things that are worked on. We'll go 2 ends also, so I have an assist on both ends, and so we get more reps that way. I think that works out really well. And obviously, you have to have a guard that knows how to read the screen too. I mean, I thought Malik did a great job of that. And really, realistically, it's nice when you have a guard that has size, because you can pass over. You can make that crack back, and those are things that, at our level, a lot of times it's hard. That's a tough pass for college kids to make. Even at the Power 5, it's tough at times. But if you got some size and some strength, you can make that pass. And boy, if you really got something, if you can make that pass, the pocket pass, or just, again, we talk a lot easy. A lot of times it's just make this. You don't have to hit a home run. Let's hit singles, man. Hit singles. Make that easy pass. Just make the easy pass. Which, guys, that's not the cool thing to do, right? But that's sometimes 80% of times probably the best pass for you guys to make, and then things will open up for you.
Right. I love it. It seemed like you had so many different good actions with ghost screens and use of the pick and roll. You guys really knew how to use it, handle it. I wanted to ask about transition offense. To score 85 points, obviously you're not walking the ball up the court and everyone walking. You're going at a great tempo. My first question, I guess, is how do you get them to play fast and at the tempo you want them to play at? And then B, if you don't get the primary or fast break, do you have a set of guidelines in secondary, or is it more just free flowing into those actions you talked about?
Yeah, well, one, I mean, I've never recruited a young man that said he wants to walk the ball up the floor.
Right.
And so I want guys, like that. But you have to understand, you have to be in shape to run the floor. And to be a transition team, you have to be a very good defensive team. You have to create turnovers, and you have to rebound the basketball. You can't be a transition team taking the ball out of bounds. And we're not. When we get scored on, we're not running right away. We're just our 5-man takes the ball out of bounds, which is new for us this year. Something we changed up. But and then we'll get into our actions. If we run the floor and don't get what we want, again, going back, if we don't get to the rim and we talk to our wings, I don't care if we don't get 2 right, 3 left. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Let's get out and go. And if you can have a big that can rebound the basketball and go, that's the best way to start a fast break right there. You don't have to make the outlet pass. Let's just go.
Yep.
And we had guys this year that could do that. They were talented enough to do. Dylan Peters did a great job for us as a 5. He could grab the ball and go, and he made very good decisions for the most part in transition. But and B, when we get that, when we don't get what we want in transition, we want to get it back out, and we want to get at least one reversal. That's really our only rule, because then we'll get into our actions. Let's talk about maybe a side ball screen. We'll do a thumbs up was just our high ball screen and get some action going that way. But if we get that one reversal just to get the ball moving, and I think that was because I think in years past, the ball gets stuck at times. If we didn't get what we wanted in transition, now we get the ball too high. We're dribbling, and now the shot clock's run down, and really nothing's happened. So we want to get that one just the reversal pass, and then obviously we've got some nice guys that knew how to play, and they would play well together.
Right. Yep. Getting that one reversal rather than keep it on the same side, it just opens everything up. And then now, Coach, flipping it to the defensive side, you talked about getting those stops being so important to help your offense, man-to-man defense. Can I ask first, just you've been a head coach for 22 years. You were with Coach Nagy before. Your dad was a very successful coach. Did you have a philosophy defensively that has stayed with you through the years, and maybe you've switched a few things, or have you changed some different things in your defensive philosophy?
I think for the most part, I think it stayed pretty consistent. I probably got it more so from Scott when I was at South Dakota State, because we did a lot of the same things we're doing here as far as we switch a lot. We try to recruit versatile guys. We'll switch 4 all the time. When we call red, that's the last 10 seconds of the shot clock. We'll switch 5. This year we could switch 5 because we were versatile enough to do that a lot, and I thought that really helped us. We're not a team that gets up and in and tries to keep it on one side of the floor. We just try to keep it out of the lane. So we bow you. We're not forcing to the baseline. We're not forcing to the half court line. We're just keeping you out of the paint and trying to be physical that way. Trying to keep between obviously the man and the basket, and not foul. I thought we fouled so much a year or 2 ago, and I thought this year we did a lot better job of not fouling, staying in front of them, keeping our hands up, making teams hit tough shots. If they hit tough contested shots, tip your hat, let's go, no big deal. You just can't allow the open catch and shoot 3. And I thought we did a great job, especially late in the season and in the Elite 8, of guarding the 3-point line. We really got out there and guarded that 3-point line. And then it wasn't the first action. It was maybe our rotation, maybe our second, third rotation. We flew around. And our guys, and the one thing that we finally started to do, because I was always on their tail a lot this year about just communication. You have to communicate on defense. You have to communicate. And guys, you go on let's watch a volleyball practice, and those girls nonstop talk. And it gives you a headache. And I get that. But our guys, they needed to be a better communicators this year. And at the end of the year, I thought they were. And they helped each other. And it wasn't that, again, it wasn't that first rotation. But, you watch the Elite 8 games, I thought our guys did a great job of getting, just flying around, contesting shots, and then rebound the basketball. And one thing Scott we always want to be plus 10 on the boards. If we were plus 10 on the boards, we knew we were going to get more opportunities offensively for ourselves. And then I thought that gave us a gauge too of we're playing hard. We're getting those loose balls, those 50-50 balls we're getting. And if we're getting those, then that's giving us an opportunity to get out in transition.
Right, absolutely, and that communication is so important. It's very interesting. You referenced volleyball. We had a guest on here, Coach Johnson from Texas State. They actually use that terminology. They want volleyball communication because their volleyball team's always so loud and talking.
It's unbelievable. I have to shut my office door when our volleyball team's practicing. But that's how you want your team to practice. And especially on the defensive end. I don't think it needs to be. It needs to be just quality talk. And that's what we talk about. Just certain words. And that's and be loud and be decisive. And if you say it, you got to do it. And then if you say it, your teammate has got to understand it, and he's got to respond to that too. You can't
Yep.
think, oh, I didn't hear it, or I said it, but oh no, I didn't think I was. No, you got to be decisive with your talk.
Exactly. Yep. Early, loud, and often. I like it, Coach. Can I ask about the rebounding and the toughness? Plus 10 on the boards. That's amazing when you can do that and it affects the game in such ways. Do you do rebounding drills or tough guy drills early in the season and maybe not do them later? Or do you just get your rebounding out of 5-on-5? How do you get your team to be such a go get it team for that ball?
We chart it, and so if you
Mm,
get 10 boards in a practice, then you don't have to run. If you get 9,
mm,
you're running a sprint. If you get 2, you're running 8 sprints. And so dudes know. Now, again, that you can negate that with assist and turnovers too.
mhm.
So if you got 10 boards, then you don't have to run. But if you have five assists, then you're going to carry that over the next day.
Right.
If you have 5 turnovers, then that goes back to 5. And so that we just our managers do a great job. And there's some obviously some controversy at the end. Sometimes guys don't think they turned the ball over,
Right.
had had more rebounds than they thought they had. But I think the more you track it, the more I think like anything in life, the more you talk about it too, Dan, the more guys are going to do it. We emphasize it every day. We talk about it. The guys know it's important to us, and so that's something that we do emphasize and that they do. We don't really just throw up the ball and
Right.
have them go kill each other. I mean, we try to stay healthy as we can and be smart about what we do.
Right. I love that. What would you recommend, Coach, for maybe a smaller staff, a D3 or a high school who doesn't have the manager power to stat their practices and do things like that just to get their rebounding better?
I think everyone almost now has Huddle or Synergy or something like that. You
Hmm.
can go back and do it and
Yep.
stat it afterwards. And then we do that too. We go back and stat things and make sure that's all done. Again, I go back to just the communication to your team about how important it is. And if you're giving up, it's obviously it's a rock and a hard place when you're practicing against yourself. You give up 4 offensive boards in a row. Well, you got the offensive team one that's crashing boards and doing what they're supposed to do, and you're getting after your defensive team.
Right.
It's kind of that's
Yeah.
one of those things
Right.
that is tough in practice. But I think just the more you can emphasize it, I just can't say that enough because I remember Coach Nagy was all about he would just harp on it every single day about the rebound aspect and that's kind of carried over and it's been something that and we've been successful with
Yep.
and I harp on my guys and my staff even though you have 2 guys but if that's what you're really, that's the emphasis of that day and you continue that on, well, then now these guys are hearing that all the time. They're like, man, these coaches, they're not kidding about this rebound stuff and being
Yep.
tough because you're going to win a lot of games, if you can rebound a basketball and get out and go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Coach, I wanted to ask you about scouting. You play 2 games a week in a typical NSIC week. And I know then when you made your tournament run, the games are coming fast and fierce. Could you talk to me a little bit about your scouting reports and are they more player specific or are they more system specific or both? And do, has your scouting reports maybe changed what you did this year than 10 years ago? I know you
Sure.
probably, yeah. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about your scouting system.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be, with our scouts, like very specific with our opponent's system,
Hmm.
what they did, what they ran, try to take them out of that stuff, and then we'd go and do all the individual stuff. This year we changed, and we changed it after Christmas, and we're fortunate. I have 2 full-time assistants. I have 2 volunteer assistants, and they did a lot of the scouting things for us. And we really just went later in the season talking about individual tendencies on our opponents, more so than because when we talk about like how we want to cover a flare screen, we know how we cover a flare screen by January.
Hmm.
We don't always want to cover a down screen or how we're going to cover horns and which ones we're going to take away and and those types of things. So I always say that our principles should carry us through a lot of things because you see in college basketball you see a lot of the same things, right? The ball, it's the
Yep.
ball screen,
Yep.
it's the horns, it's those types of things, and so we want to go through those and make sure our guys understand how we want to guard those. And
Right.
then later on in the season, I thought we really did a good job of just really individualizing the scout more so. And these are the tendencies these guys have, and this is what we want to take away. And then really worry about what we were doing. And for the first time, and it's taken me a long time to do that. My assistant has really tried to get me to do it more the last couple of years about let's worry about ourselves, coach. Let's just be
Mhm.
really, really good at what we do and make
Right.
our opponent, make those guys worry about what they have to do to stop us. And we got away from, standing there 15 minutes going through, this is exactly what Southwest Minnesota State does. And
Yep.
we're going to take this away. We're going to take, well, guys should know that. I mean, we
Right.
practiced for 2-3 months. They should know what the heck we're doing. So I thought that really made us a better team. And I saw where late in the season, we were getting better defensively. We were getting better offensively too, because we were working on ourselves and not
Right.
our opponents all the time.
I love that, coach. I love that. And that's such a growth mindset. You've been a head coach successful for 22 years and still adapting and changing, lifelong learners we have to be as
You
coaches.
have to be. And you don't. That's the same thing with the portal. I mean, all these people ask me about the portal, like, well, you got it. I mean, I've got to go with it. I've got to and adapt to that, because if you don't, you're going to be passed up.
Yep.
I look at like Krzyzewski back in the day. He started taking transfers. Whoever thought that Mike Krzyzewski was going to start taking transfers at
Right.
Duke? Nobody.
Yeah.
But he had to stay on the top of the curve, and that's the way this game is right now, because it is changing at warp speed, and
Yep.
you have to stay with it.
Absolutely. Coach, I don't want to ask you too much about the portal. We hear about it all the time. But what I did want to ask is, how do you balance? You have three types of players. You have your returners, you have your newcomers who are coming from another college if they're coming through the portal, and then you have your incoming freshmen. How do you blend those together? Because every team, every year in college basketball is going to be a new team.
Yeah, and I think I go back, Dan, to what that's where those meetings really are coming into place.
Mm, yep.
Those meetings, the meetings at my house, and then it's about the guys. We really we want our guys to do a lot of things together and have fun doing things together.
Yep.
And I think we really had that this year, and it starts in the summer with them. We don't make our kids come here in the summer, but you find that the older guys, the transfer guys, they want to be at that university in the summer. Our freshmen, they're still scared, and they'll come in August, and see what college is all about. But when the transfers come together and work together in the summer, that's really when it gets going. And you do, it's a delicate balance when you have a nice core coming back, and then you bring in transfer guys, because those transfer guys expect to play. Our guys that are juniors and seniors now who have been in this program, they expect to play, and they know we play 8, and so
Yep.
that's something where they know they have to compete. They know they know they have to hold each other accountable, and to do what we did like this year, something special, win a national championship. They know I can use that the next couple of years too. But hey, this is the formula we had. Let's don't deviate from that now, fellas. I mean, it's no one really cared about themselves. You're here to win a championship, and to do that, we need all 15 guys to do everything that they can do in their power to help us day to day. And that we need to be day to day guys. We can't look forward. We got to get better today. And if we
Right.
do that, then I think things will fall into place.
Absolutely. And it goes back to those relationships that you have with those meetings and relationship driven program. Can I ask about incoming freshmen? Is there still some circumstances where you will redshirt freshmen and talk them through that? I know that sometimes they don't like to be redshirted, but sometimes that's the best thing for them. How do you handle that process, and how have you handled that over your 22 years at Minnesota State?
Thank you. Minnesota.
I graduated from Mankato State, so that was a slip there. Sorry, Maverick fans.
So I think that has changed. I mean, early in my career, we liked to redshirt freshmen and then bring them along the process. Now they want to play, and I get that. And again, I go back to we make that. I don't make that decision. I let them make that decision late in when we get to late October, early November, we start playing games, and we sit down like, are you going to be in the top 8? Are you going to be in the top 10? And I'll let them know. And if they are or not, then we'll go and go that direction. Now, we had a young man this year who was going to play for us as a freshman. He was in the top 9, 10, and he ended up getting hurt at Christmas time. So he still could have opportunity to redshirt him. We did redshirt him. It was the best thing for him. And I think those are the opportunities I'm going to take now as far as redshirt guys. But I want our guys, all 15 guys, to understand that they're here to play, and I'm not going to redshirt them unless their mom and dad and we all meet and they think it's the best thing for them. But I'm not going to make that decision. It's on the family. It's on the young man himself.
Right. Right. That makes sense, coach. And you always put together such a strong roster. I'm excited to see how you guys do again next year. This has been so wonderful, coach. I have just a few more questions I wanted to ask. The first is just about Mankato. The women win the championship the
Yeah,
day before you guys. You
yeah.
guys win the national championship the next day. Is Mankato still partying? Is it like, what's the city like up
You
there?
went to school here. You know
Yeah, I
Mankato.
know. That's
I
yes.
mean, this place parties if you don't win, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
so it has been, Dan, it's been unbelievable. It's been
Yep.
electric. And,
Wow.
I said it right after the game, Mankato is the center of college basketball. And it
Hmm.
was that weekend. We had a ballroom there in Evansville on Friday night watching the women's championship game. And they took care of business. And I went back to the hotel room with my wife. And she's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Well, obviously I'm nervous no matter what going into the championship game. But now we got to win, man. I mean, we're going back to Mankato. I can't go back to Mankato without a championship when the women just won their championship.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but to have that happen is storybook. I mean, it
Yeah.
just you can't write a better script. The women's team had an unbelievable season. Our guys get along with their girls. It's unbelievable, because we're in the gym all together a lot,
Sure.
and
Yep.
a couple of our guys are dating their girls, and so we really support each other's programs. Just a lot of fun, and I mean, again, it only happened twice in Division Two. 40 years ago, Central Missouri did it. We did it this time around, and it really is fun doing. We're at the Governor's Mansion last week. We've been up to the Timberwolves game. We're throwing out the pitch at the Twins game here soon. A lot of neat and cool things that we're being able to do, but we're doing them together, and that's a pretty cool deal.
Absolutely, coach. We are very proud from down here in Texas, my wife and I as alums, and it was really special. I wanted to close with two things. The first thing is just about family. You come from a coaching family.
I do.
I know your brother's a coach, your father's a coach. Can you talk about that and just how special that is, and also maybe what Thanksgiving's like, or whenever you get together? I guess we're basketball coaches, so you may not see them to Fourth of July, but what
That's it.
a family meeting's like with you all together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and
Mhm.
to have my dad with me in Evansville for the entire run. He stayed
Yeah.
22 days with us, and
Wow.
we lost my mom 3 years ago, and so it was great to have him with us and be able to go for the ride because he's never had that experience before, and he got to live right through me and be
Wow.
there at all the press conference. That would Dan, that would, to me, that was the most special thing in my life. I mean, he means everything to me. But to be in a basketball family, we grew up in a college town. My brother Ty and myself, we grew up going to dad's practices, going to recruiting with them, and the Thanksgivings I remember, Dan, is when mom would have the whole team over after practice, and as little boys running around and having these big college basketball players being around, and we do the same thing now, and those are great experiences. So my kids are. Thank gosh, my two boys aren't coaching. They're smart and they got real jobs, and they're doing very, very well for themselves. And I love it. But it is a special thing when you have a dad and a brother that are in the college game. And because I talk to my dad every day, talk to my brother all the time. We shoot things off of each other all the time. And, to have dads living in Naples, Florida, and able to watch every one of our games, and sometimes I don't even want to call him because I'm like, I know he's going to say, I know he's going
Right.
to get after me about,
Right.
defensively, we didn't do this, or offensively, why are we taking these shots? But it is special. And I would never want to grow up any other way.
I love that, coach. I love that. And it's so special when you got to share that moment with your dad. And I just think too, having a family member really go through it as a coach, and then you do that. It's unbelievable to watch from afar and hear about it. So congratulations to you and your family for that.
Thank you. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. A lot of
Uh,
fun.
I wanted to ask what's in the future for Minnesota State. I mean, you follow up a national championship, no pressure, coach, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and also just for the listeners, we have a lot of listeners who will listen to this whenever they do, and it's available on all kinds of wherever you get your podcast, but who maybe are from Texas and don't know a lot about Mankato or Minnesota State or even the NSIC. What's in the future for your school? And just tell us a little bit about it.
Mankato is a special place. But,
Hmm.
the Mankato area is about 103,000 people. University's 15,000. We're the second largest university in the state. We're like a Division I program here. We really
Yep,
are. We have the
absolutely.
amenities. Glenn Taylor owns the Timberwolves, built us a beautiful facility. Our expectations here are to win and win big. And I had lunch today with a booster, and he said, honestly, coach, tell me the truth. I said, he goes, did you, in the back of your mind, always question if you could win a championship here? And, I think as a coach, you always, as a human being, you always have doubts. right? I mean, I can be as confident as I can be. I think I'm a confident person, but
Right.
you always had doubts, yeah, I thought that. And to win that championship,
Mm.
and I told my assistant coaches on the way back, I said, we got to do this again. Now, it's fun. We got to do this again. And it's so much work. So, you have to have some luck, like I said, along the way. But for us in this league, I think that we're at a spot where we're nationally known.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's recruiting doesn't ever get easier, but I think we can get a different type of player. I don't want a different type of person. I want
Right.
maybe a player that can help us do some things that is a person that fits what because I think we really hit lightning in a bottle. We're trying to do that again and to keep this thing rolling. And we know that for us, our philosophy of the last 23 years too has been like, if in this league, if you can be in the top 2 or 3 in the league, you're going to be in the NCAA tournament. All right.
Yep.
And if you get in the NCAA tournament, you have an opportunity to get in, to get in that region, which is the central region.
Yep.
And again, like I said, if you can get through that, man, you have a chance to win it. And that's always been our philosophy. And always just to be at home to be able to do it. Obviously, it's a little bit easier to win, but we continue. We want. I just signed a new 5-year contract. We want to continue to do what we did this year and win and chase championships. And I always said, I got 1 ring now, but let's get a couple more and keep it going because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And Coach, you did get that ring, and it was very special and a great run. Congratulations again. A lot of things, you dropped a lot of great knowledge tonight about your program, but it was so great to hear about how you guys have a true family within your program, the relationship driven, the offense, how you handle your rotation. It just was a wonderful podcast tonight, just hearing about your program, Coach. So I can't thank you enough. As alum, congratulations to it is really special.
Thanks, Dan. And I got to get your address. I got to get you some gear now, man.
All right. All right.
Gear. But, when we say Mav Fam here at Minnesota State, it really is. It's a Maverick family. It really is. That's not just a hashtag thing.
Right. Absolutely. Coach, thank you again for coming on. I know we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Dan.
Great podcast, great information tonight. Minnesota State, again, congratulations to them. I want to thank our sponsors. Great places to go. Zelix right here in San Marcos. Again, they're a sponsor of our podcast. And, of course, get your pizza at Pie Society, another great place in San Marcos. I want to thank my producer, Jude McLaren. He makes all this happen. He's the best, and I appreciate you, Jude. Thank you again for listening to Basketball Brew, and we'll